Chapter 10, Discovering Grace Through Acts of Making. The way it is. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die. You suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. By William Stafford. Actualized making. Making begins as play, something you see in a book and decide to try, something a parent taught you, inventions with paper and string, a needle and thread, a hammer, a piece of wood, some nails, aimless experimenting or directed learning. It all starts with something. Next, you want to get better at whatever you're pursuing. Your competitive streak surfaces. Or you're tired of failing. Or you just like the idea of being better at whatever's drawn you in. Eventually, you recognize how much making means to you. You enjoy it. You even love it. Your creations and process, always in the back of your mind percolating, even when you aren't actually hands-on, even when life forces you to take a break or shift gears. The actualized stage of making, it's a deep recognition that the ability is in you, and it isn't leaving. Lapses of time don't scare your ability away. The connection is embedded deep within you. It's a good friend waiting for your return. Effort cultivates this ability. Then come the rewards, a grace that's always available. All you have to do is keep showing up. You have the tools to be authentic. Being your authentic artist's self. I pondered what to write for your consideration in this closing chapter. Inventorying topics we've discussed seemed like a good idea, wrapping up with an overview, but what else? I meander when I'm not sure what to do, so I meandered over to my studio, hoping to secure direction by working a while, engaging hands so thoughts could organize behind my eyes. My inspiration was on the bulletin board right next to the studio door. You are perfect the way you are, and you could use a little improvement. Shunryu Suzuki Roshi. This quote is a favorite of mine. It doesn't have anything to do with spiritual persuasions of Suzuki Roshi. You can probably tell from the quotes and poems I've shared that inspiration comes from all over the place for me. I include it because I hope it will resonate with all of us who want to get better at this art-making thing. I like the wryness of the quote. It's so tough for us to accept the reality of these words. It's hard to admit every day we're basically beginning at the beginning and trying to improve. It's simply a matter of showing up, then putting all the tools you've cultivated as part of building stamina to good use. These include employing writing to find a path or to further development, engaging the rebel to manage challenges of time constraints, materials, or feedback from others, calling out negativity when you encounter it, whether it's the committee or your own self-doubt or a combination of both, revisiting alignment and recalculating, that's a lifelong task, discerning distinctiveness as part of your alignment, working with your story so it serves you internally, which means how you see yourself, as well as externally, which means what you show to others. It's a positive process. I hope you see that for yourself. And there are several key realizations to acknowledge along with it. Number one, you have the tools. The first one to recognize is that this is in you. Before, you may have feared drying up or being out of touch, or feared you would never find your way back to your work. But now you know about the thread. It's always there. So let the worry go. You've got the tools to find your way. They are your symbolic compass and flashlight. Number 2, happiness and imperfection can coexist. It's a paradox. You'll never be good enough, but you can still love what you do. It's a version of Suzuki's quote. If you're actively engaged by your work, you love it. And even though you may be in alignment, you'll always see the tiny flaw or where a piece could be stronger. Good. That means you'll keep making, because as elusive as perfection is, most of us still strive to achieve it somehow. When we do achieve it, should we be so fortunate, it's unlikely we'll be content even then. There's always another perfection to seek. There is always more work to do. Number 3, you cannot escape yourself. A dawning realization that the flip side of having it in you is not being able to get away from it. You're birthing an artist's self, and the birth canal only goes one way. I could quote an old Wiccan proverb, "Be careful what you ask for, you might get it." But what good would that do? You've already asked. My best piece of advice at this stage is to go for it. Surrender to the process. It goes something like this. If you have to accept that you are fascinating because you've accepted that everyone else is fascinating, you have to accept that this process of building stamina, working a while, seeing a need or opportunity for change, recalculating, and starting again is an impersonal, personal, universal process. It's the same for everybody. Isn't that comforting? You're not on the same spot on the continuum as others. Everybody's station is different and changing, but we are all still on the same continuum in the end. If you embrace this idea wholeheartedly, you may feel a rush of relief. You've realized that every person you encounter is having some sort of experience with making that you can relate to. When you encounter meanness, dismissiveness, or a disconnect, please realize it's not about you. It's a matter of where the person is on the continuum, which leads to settling into yourself, liking who you are, knowing you need to get better, but feeling okay about it. And this leads to grace. Grace isn't something you can demand or manifest by yourself. You did the work suggested in the earlier chapters. You see how far you've come and also how much more there is to do. The potential exists for this reality to cease being an impediment or an intimidation to growth. Instead, you can begin to view it as part of the natural progression of things, an exciting exploration that never ends, a process to choose to enjoy. And when you do, your studio will be filled with grace. And then the only appropriate response is thank you. I would be remiss not to talk about the power of being an artist one more time. I offered the analogy of putting on your own oxygen mask before you help anyone else on the plane. That's what you're doing when you build stamina through strength training. Having built stamina affords you the opportunity to grab an even bigger challenge, positioning your work to make a difference in the world, whether by sharing beauty, commenting on justice or injustice, or making people laugh. It's an honor and a privilege, and one you can grab anytime you want. Mainly it comes from being willing to put your work out there so others have a chance to know it and to know you. An anonymous author of this passage said it as well as anyone could. All of our activities should be influenced by the pleasure, not the pain principle. We have not come into the world to suffer nor to inflict suffering. Every day, do something that is good only for you. Selfish? No, self-possessed. Balance it out by doing something equally good for the benefit of all. This will depend on your opportunities. Only you will know what you can do. If you are an artist, use your power to be original, to try to heal the wounds you see around you. Everything we do needs passion to be done well. Passion is precious. It indicates good mental health. Use it as an important energy source all day.